The Tiger Rising, Chapter 5. The principal's office was small and dark and smelled like pipe tobacco. The secretary looked up at the Rob when he walked in. Go right on back, she said, nodding her big blonde head of hair. He's waiting for you, Rob said. Mr. Filmer, when Rob stepped into the Yes, sir, said Rob. Have a seat, Mr. Filmer. Waving his hand at the orange plastic chair in front of his desk, Rob sat down. Mr. Filmer cleared his throat. He patted the piece of hair that was combed over his bald head. He cleared his throat again. Rob weren't a bit worried. He finally said. Rob nodded. This was how Mr. Fenton began all his talks with Rob. He was always worried that Rob did not interact with the other students.
Worried that he didn't communicate, worried that he wasn't doing well in any way in school. It's about your legs. Yes, your legs. Have you been putting that medicine on them? Yes, sir, said Rob. He didn't look at Mr. Palmond. He stared instead at the palm and in the principal's head. It was covered in ashtray and array of formed pieces of paper, certificates, and then diplomas, and thank you letters. May I look, son? Asked Mr. Palmer. He got up from his chair halfway around the desk. Stared at Rob's legs. Yes, sir, he said after a minute. He went back behind the desk, sat down, and he folded his hands together and cracked his knuckles. He cleared his throat. Here's the situation, Rob. Some of the partners, I won't mention any names, are worried about which have like there would be contagious, means something that the other students could possibly catch. Mr. Palmer cleared his throat again. He stared at Rob. Tell me the truth, son, he said. Have you been using that medicine you told me about? The stuff the doctor asked. Have you been putting that on?
Yes, sir, said Rob. Well, said Mr. Palmer, let me tell you what I think. Let me be upfront and honest with you. I think it might be a good idea if you had only stay home for a few days. What we'll do is just give that old medicine more of a chance to kick in. Let it start working its magic on you, and then we will have you come back to school when your legs have cleared up. What do you think about the plan? Rob started down his leg. He felt the picture of the tiger burning in his pocket. He concentrated on keeping his heart slowly singing out loud with joy. Yes, sir, he said slowly. That would be all right. That's right, said Mr. I thought you would think it's a good plan. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just write to your parents, your father, a note and telling him that whatever he can give me a call if he wants. We can talk about it. Yes, sir, said Rob again. He kept his head down. He was afraid to look up. Mr. Palmer cleared his throat and scratched his head and adjusted his piece of hair, and then he started to write. When he was done, he handed the note to Rob. Rob took it, and when he was outside the principal's office,
he folded the piece of paper up carefully and put it right in the back of his pocket with the drawing of the tiger. Then he finally smiled because he knew something that Mr. Palmer did not know. He knew the thing on his lap would never clear up. He was free.